We might not be streaming it during.
Have you seen Sean?
I have not seen Sean in a little minute.
It's funny you say a little bit.
Last I heard, he was. Last I heard, he was off in Greece or.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he big time. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
he's
saying?
not local. He's not local.
No,
Okay.
no, he big time. All right. Certainly, first of all, I'm Professor Dreyer. I wanted to just tell you thank you for coming. If I have these events and then no one shows up, then that kind of sucks. Secondly, again, if you leave hungry today, that's on you, because only half of y'all showed up. So I bought pizza for the whole group. My other girl's on her way though, right?
She said
So make sure, don't be bashful. All right, and then if there's pizza left over, somebody's got to take it home with them, because your boy right here is not doing it. Laser focused. All right. So I'm Professor Dreyer. I teach math and statistics, and this is Professor McGriff, and she teaches reading and English. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's kind of the format. I'm going to start out with a little bit of math, and then I'm going to turn it over to her. She'll do some reading. I'll step back in a little bit after that, and I'll do a little more math with you, and then she'll finish up with the English part.
English.
Okay. Sound good?
So we should be out of here by what time?
Well, we can be out of here by 4 o'clock. I got a client to get to.
Yeah.
I got to go pay for the pizza. So, importance of the SAT, ACT. So the SAT is this weekend. Some of you are going to take it. The major thing you need to know is Florida Bright Futures is a real thing. Okay? Now, some of y'all, maybe you come from like trust funds and stuff, and then you don't worry about scholarships. For those of you that don't come from trust funds, like my son doesn't come from trust funds, we need that Bright Futures to kick in. Okay? You know, I don't want to say I kind of harped on him, but we worked on it every night until he had it. All right? Just so you understand the two different classifications, there's FAS and there's FMS. I don't know what those mean, but I know they pay differently. All right? So the FAS is 100% full tuition, unless you go to a private school, and then it's not 100%. It's probably more like 30%. All right? But if you go to the University of Florida, you get full Bright Futures. Full Bright Futures is going to cover 100% of your tuition and give you $300 a semester. Okay? That's money in your pocket. Now, maybe you're like crazy athletic and you get a scholarship. That's great. Now Bright Futures just goes into your checking account.
Any athletes in here?
Any athletes? All right.
Oh, okay.
So if if it works out for you and you can get a scholarship, that's even better. All right. My son plays football for West Florida, and between the scholarship and that, it's virtually free, and that makes me very happy because when I give him money every month, I don't feel like I'm getting cheated. All right. FMS is a 1210. So if you get 1210, you get FMS. That is 75%. FMS is 75% 75% tuition. Now they don't give you a semester stipend like they do with the full Bright Futures, but it's 75%. I can tell you because I see the bill every semester. It's about, I want to say they give them about $3,500 a semester. That's decent money. For doing what? For getting a good test score. Because the benefit of Bright Futures, just so that you know, it has nothing to do with how much your parents make. Like the minute you get the test score, you locked in. Oh, and the community service hours. Okay, you do got to have some community service hours. I think it's 100 hours. I'm not for sure about that. I think it's around 100 hours, which should not be too hard to get. Like go to your local church, thrift store. I mean, there's ways to get community service pretty easy. All right. So let's talk about the math test and what it is you're going to be facing. So essentially you're dealt with two components. All All right, you have a calculator and a non-calculator portion. How many of you have taken it already once before? Okay, so y'all have experienced it. All right. When you sit down, you're gonna be faced with two parts. There's a non-calculator part, which is relatively short. It's not very much at all. And then there's a calculator part. All right, the non-calculator part, we're looking at about 20 questions. And when I say about, I mean 20 questions. It's 15 multiple choice, and then it's 5 with the grid ends where you have to grid the answer in. Okay, so, back in the day when I took it, like I'm not trying to date myself a little bit, but when I took it, the whole test was multiple choice. And if you didn't have an idea, well, you had a 1 in 5 shot anyway. All right. But when I took it, they penalized you for missing it. So, yeah. If you guessed and missed, it counted against your score. And so the rule when I took it was don't guess. But now it's just guess for all of them if you have to. And so you're looking at 20 questions for the non-calculator portion. That's got to get done in 25 minutes. So they don't give you both parts at once and say, here, take the calculator out when you're ready to use it. It's, here's 20 questions, you have 25 minutes, go. And then they give you, after that, then they give you 60 minutes to work the remaining, is it 60 minutes? They give you whatever the remaining portion is, 20, there's 58 questions altogether, so 38 questions for the calculator portion. I recommend the TI-83 or the TI-84, that's my personal recommendation, whichever you're comfortable with. What you don't want to do is be sitting in there trying to figure out how to use your calculator. Like the SAT is not the day that you sit there and go, where's this button at? Like that's not the time to do that. All right. Now, do they check your calculators? So, as long as you have a TI-83 or TI-84, you can program certain things in there. Things that you know that you might need some refresher with. Formulas, for example. Okay? So, they give you a set of formulas, and then we're going to talk a little bit about that at the beginning. So there's the set like, okay, we give you these, and then there's another whole set of formulas of, yeah, you probably should know this one just off the top of your head. Okay? And so we're gonna go through, I've pulled up some questions for you to look at, and I'm gonna give you some strategies, and what you're looking for, what you need to be worried about. As you go through, you're gonna see a trend with the SAT. And the trend is this. They ask you a question without directly asking you a question, if that makes sense. Like, it's never just x plus 6 equals 12, solve for x. Like, they're never going to do that. It'll be like 7x plus 2 equals 5x minus 4, find 4x squared. And so they ask you an indirect question so that you can try to solve the direct question. Does that make sense? And so with that, let's take a look at some ideas here. All right. We'll start off with a little statistics question. We'll start off with a little statistics. I'm going to let you read it, and then we're going to talk about it. As you read it, does anybody have an idea of how you go about attacking it?
Compare the differences between the years and the teachers.
Okay, how would you do that then?
So there's 6 extra teachers and there's a 4-year difference between the means.
Okay, so what does that mean? I mean, I agree. So there's 6 extra teachers, there's a 4-year difference in the mean. So what does that mean about the 6 additional teachers?
They're going to be older.
Okay, yeah, so the 6 teachers have to be older. Do we agree on that? What were you going to say?
No, yeah, that's,
The 6 teachers have to be older because they're older and it comes up. All right. These problems are unbelievably common, and their outcome is always the same.
Can I take pictures of each
Of
of these?
course. I mean, I'll email them to you if you want me to. Did everybody get my email today?
Yes.
You didn't get an email from me
I
today?
only have it.
I don't know.
Oh,
So,
I don't know.
do you want to start a list and have everybody put their name and their email address?
Well, I thought I had a list on that Google worksheet. Did you set up on the form?
Yeah, I did. I'll probably have to check my email later.
yeah, I don't think I really checked it.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you can
Because
take, feel free to take a picture. The answer is yes. Feel free to take a picture. The other thing, feel free to go to YouTube, type in my name, and you'll see the video, and that will be on there as well.
Are you recording?
Yes,
Oh,
be a live stream on
I
YouTube.
didn't think we were.
Yeah, no, I got
I was
it.
happy about that, so now I gotta send something.
Okay, yeah. Suck it in. All right. So, a couple thoughts here. A couple thoughts. Anytime you have a problem that references average, average requires 2 things and 2 things only. It requires a sum and it requires a total. Okay? That's all you need to find average. All you have to have is a sum and a total. Okay? Now, if we know the average, and we know how many people are in it, then we effectively know the sum, do we not? So for the first one, we have 15 teachers. And we know the average is 40, yes? So we have 15 times 40, 600. So the sum of the first 15 teachers, that sum was 600. Do we agree? Now, when we put all 21 together, when we do all 21, the sum is 44. Or the average is 44, do we agree? So what's the sum? Well, it'll be 44 times 21, yes? That's the sum of all of them. So 44 times 21, 880, 924? That's the sum of everybody? Do we agree? So for the first 15, they added up to be 600. For all of them, they added up to be 924. So what was the sum of the 6 people you added? The extra 6 must have been 924 minus 600. Do we agree? Which is 324. Do we agree? So to find the average of the 6 people, it's the sum divided by the total. So 54. That would have been the average of those 6. Okay. Okay, you can grab some pizza. So this is one that if you know that all the problems involving average almost always work you back to finding out what the sum was to begin with. And see, these problems, the problem that I have with students when they try to do this stuff is they almost all work this way, and then the last part is what changes. You know, they may say like, okay, well, you know, the average of your 6 test grades are 85. Well, the minute you see the average of your 6 test grades are 85, you should think 85 times 6 gives me the sum. Because from that, you can do anything that. Now, you can say, well, the next test counts 3 times. They get a 70. What's the new sum? Or what's the new average? Once you have the sum, you can put in grades if you want to. Maybe they say, you know, your 6 tests are an average of 85. The teacher forgets that you're going to have to drop the lowest grade. Your lowest grade was a 40. What's the new average? You take 6 times 85, you subtract out the 40, and now you're going to divide that by 5. Does that make sense? It's all starting with what was the sum when we got going. All right? You okay?
Mm-hmm.
You looked a little overwhelmed. You sure?
No, I'm fine.
We grab more pizza then.
No.
I mean, if you're good, just get more pizza. Any questions on this? Any questions on this? All right. Maybe you can read it. All right. This is a probability question, so it's near and dear to my heart. But again, it's a probability question with a twist. Okay? It's a probability question with a twist. You've got left-handed and right-handed students by gender. There are 5 times as many right-hand females. There's 5 times right-handed females as left-handed females. 9 times as many right-handed male students as left-handed males. There are 18 left-handed and 122 right-handed. And then I love the end part. After this, find the probability that a right-hand student is selected at random is female. Okay, and then the great little qualifier at the end. Just so you know, they're mutually exclusive. There's nobody in both groups. Okay. You won't read on the SAT, Johnny goes trick-or-treating. Sally's house has 18 Kit Kats and 10 M&Ms. He chooses one. What's the probability he gets a Kit Kat? Like, that is never going to happen. All right? That is never going to happen. This is a system of equations, and system of equations, I'll bet you $1,000 to a donut that system of equations is on the SAT if you take it on Saturday. It's on there all the time. And we're looking at several of these problems because I think it's good to see. All right? So we're going to look at several of these, but this is the first one. 5 times as many right-handed students as left-handed. So X is the number of left-hand females. 5X is the number of right-hand females. Y is the number of left-handed males. 9Y is the number of right-handed males. Okay. Now, what do we know? The total number of left-handed people is 18. Right? It tells us that. The total number of left-handed people is 18. The total number of right-handed people is 122. And now you're left to solve that. Okay. Now, generally when I solve systems, I usually use substitute elimination. That's just the way I do it. All right. You can eliminate either by getting the x to be negative 5x or by getting the y to be negative 9y. All right. So we've got, multiplying this by -5. We got -5x minus 5y equals -90. 4y equals 32. And y is equal to 8. If y is 8, x must be 10. Do we agree? If y is 8, x is 10. Now, in most cases, it might ask you how many left-handed students are there, how many right-handed students, how many of this, how many of that. In this, it's asking you to take it a step further and find the probability associated with it. Now, probability, you're not going to have, Brooklyn, you're not going to have a complicated probability question. Like, it's not going to be, oh, Sam goes to the hospital. Average cost of a hospital visit is $2,500. Sam is admitted for 15 days, and now the probability, it's not that. The most basic probability question we have is, how many do we have? How many total? That's essentially what you're dealing with in probability. Okay? When you deal with probability, you deal with what we call classical probability. Number of successes, number of outcomes. Okay? So in this particular situation, we have female, we have male, we have 10 left-handed, which means we have 50 right-handed, and we have 8 left-handed males and 72 right-hand males. And then when you add straight down, this is your 122, this is your 18 that you see here. Does that make sense? Now, to find probability, what do you got to do? How many total do we have? 140? Does that make sense? Now, what are we being asked to find? We're asked to find the probability that it what?
For right-handed student is picked.
When did you do the
Yeah.
122 on the bottom? If it's asking for right-handed?
That a right-handed student selected at random is female.
Like out of the right-handed?
Oh yeah, so it's all of the right-handed kids. So there's 122 right-handed, and then you want to find a female out of that. How many females are out of that? Okay. Does that make sense? Yes, babe.
Oh, this is 5.
5x. Okay. So this is the first of several system of equation problems we're going to look at. All right, this is the first of several system of equation problems we're going to look at. And they all kind of set up the same way. All right, they all kind of set up the same way. The actual solving of them is never very hard. Okay, I think probably I teach at the college, and so I have a lot of students who will say, you know, I give a test that's part with and part without the calculator, and I think students will say, oh, I think you got the parts mixed up because I didn't use the calculator at all on the calculator part, and I needed it for the non-calculator part. Probably not. Usually you don't need the calculator that much other than just kind of reassurance. Does that make sense? Like it's nothing super complicated in terms of calculations. All right. I want to talk about percentages, and I'm going to turn it over to Professor McGriff for a little minute. All right. Another typical problem here. Okay. Probably no chance that you see What is 15% of 38? Like, it's just not, that's not the kind of differentiating question they're gonna ask. Okay? I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about percentages, just in case you do get something that requires a percentage. Let me get off of this thing. Okay? And so let's talk about percentages, and then let's talk about how we solve this. So, a couple thoughts. Number one, to find a percent if you need to, if you ever have to find a percent and you don't know how to do it, if you have to find a percent, this is a pretty good way to do it. Okay, is over of equals percent over 100. So, for example, if they said to me, and this is not related to this problem necessarily, but just in general, if they said, you know, what is 18% of 42, I would do that as is over of equals percent over 100. The key here is unknown, of is 42, we have a percentage, we have a total, and then we can cross multiply. That's if you had to find a percent. Now again, that's not related to the problem on the screen, but if you find yourself in a position where you have to find a percentage and you don't know how to do it, is over of equals percent over 100 is a very good strategy to use. Okay? Now, let's talk about percent off. Now, some of y'all shop, and so you get real good at percent off. That pair of shoes you want, $140, they're 30% off. What I need you to do is to train your brain to realize that 30% off also means 70% on. 30% off means 70% on. 15% off means 85% on. And so instead of doing what a lot of people do is say, if I have something that's $100 and I want 15% off, what a lot of people will do is they'll do 100 times 0.15, get 15, and then do what? Go back and subtract from the original. That's what most of you do. A quicker route is to say 15% off is 85% on. And then it's 85%. It's $85. Then you don't have to subtract anything else, you're finished. Okay? Right now there's people like this. That work for real? Yeah. Anytime I'm in the store, if it says it's 40% off, I take the price and multiply it by 0.6. And that tells me how much it's going to cost when it's at the end of the day. Like at the end of the day, just brass tacks, how much is it going to cost? If it's $12 and it's 40% off, it's 60% on. 12 times 0.6, $7.20. That's a wrap. Okay? And then somebody will say, well, what about sales tax? If it's 7%, don't multiply by 0.07, multiply by 1.07, and that increases at 7%. Does that make sense? And then you don't have to worry about adding stuff, all that taken care of. And so let us bring that thought to this question. Let us bring that thought to this question. You got a laptop. Store gave a 20% discount off the original price. She paid P dollars, and that P dollars also included an 8% sales tax. So we have the original price. We're giving them a 20% discount, but then we got to tack on sales tax. And then here's the problem that everybody gets. Which of the following represents the cost of the original price? What's the original price? You see, when people read it, they automatically assume we're talking about the final price. because that would make sense. Like how much do you have to pay when you walk out the door? That's what most of us in consumer math care about. Okay? Forget all the numbers. How much do I owe? All right? Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look. The original price was P, yes? She paid X amount. We don't know how much she paid, but she paid X amount. Do we agree? Well, she didn't pay, she didn't have to pay all the P, did she? Because she got a 20% discount. So how much did she actually pay for? She actually paid for how much? 80% of it, right? So what she paid was 80%. That's how much she paid, right? That was the 20% discount taken off. But on top of the price that she paid, what did she have to pay after that?
Sales tax.
Sales tax, which is how much?
8%.
So she had to multiply this by 1.08. And that was the final amount, yes? Okay. What we solving for? We're solving for P, are we not? So how do you solve for P? D. D is the correct answer there. Yeah.
Is A the amount she would be paying for it?
Yeah, I put it as X, but yeah, A would be the amount. Okay. But you're just simply solving, you're back solving it. Okay. I'm going to pause here because Professor McGriff has come all the way from Lakeland. And no, girl. I'm running out. I'm running out of steam, you know.
Grab a piece of pizza.
Laser focused.
Okay.
I'm going to grab my Chick-fil-A.
Okay, great. That'll work.
I love these guys a lot, but I can't buy them on Chick-fil-A, you know what I'm saying? Bunch of guys. All right, so Professor McGriff's going to talk to you a little bit about reading, and then
So before I start talking about reading, well, you guys just get up and just take a quick little break, like 2 minutes. Just get up.
don't look
off your
that
butt.
that blocker wrong.
That's not good.
Not even
Just
close.
get up, you know, just have some alcohol for you, right?
She said she has to. It was like the way he like put it up. Because he's already been
I can't see it.
I don't know.
No, I definitely was thinking the same thing. Professor Charles, we're like a little bit confused on the. Okay, so both of us were thinking that it was going to come out DC. So why didn't you tell me that?
She has just told you. They're not asking what the date is. They're asking how much is the original price. You got to put it back. Let's say it's $100. Let's say the original price is $100. Okay. You got 80% off, so you paid $80. Then you got to multiply that by 1.08. That's your final price. Okay? We have the final price. We're working towards the original cost. You see what I'm saying? You can't take your final price, multiply it by 80, and multiply it by 1.08. You have to divide the final price by these two pieces. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just making you work backwards is all it's doing. All right?
It's just weird how they work.
The wording of
It's easy. You don't know. I'm pretty fast. What I did, whenever I took my Prius,
So get to there, you're like,
I like it. I think I had her for like. The first 2 weeks of school. I had an ACT prep class. First thing, I'm not getting it.
I don't know how to do another
Did
one.
she say the same? Did she say?
Yeah, like, it's never seen it. It's not like, we had a book that they gave us, I still have it now. So I'm using when I took my ACT. But it also certain sections for where you're reading and then find it. I'm taking it like important information in online. When you get to the question. One of the things I
I mean, there's such a thing. I mean, this isn't all. And you only have to take 65 minutes. And then I'll type that later. So we're like.
No, terrible idea. God awful idea.
Yeah, so they were trying to tell her that's not. She's using like that.
Terrible
I
idea.
can do it from here, right? I can talk from
Yeah.
here.
But I got a one something, and I want that too. Wow, you don't have the blue one?
So,
Actually, I do the very good ones.
That's why he didn't do it.
I'm the ones that he and Joey spent out because we don't like it. And we didn't get Brooklyn give us.
alright, so,
Probably not having to go off social media.
alright, so, I am on camera for real. But I need to stand right here. Alright, so, I'm Professor McGriff, and I teach on the Lakeland campus. I teach developmental reading and writing, and first year seminar, and college success, and all that good stuff. But I also have a tutoring company and a consulting company, so I'm kind of legit, I guess you could say. I've been doing this for a while. Needless to say, I will tell you guys that ACT is the one that the majority of the students do, right? But they're really shooting themselves in the foot, because I think this is the real deal. But I can't tell them. They come to me and they say, I want ACT tutor. I'm like, all right, let's go. Hey, you got your book, let's go. SAT is the one that I prefer, because for one, you get more time. And for two, we have this thing called, I call it 2 for 1. Like if you answer question 7, question 8 is going to ask you your evidence, cite your evidence. So you can just look at both of those and kind of get like 2 for 1. So that's why I look at it like that. But and then you only have reading and math. ACT, you have reading, English, math, and science. So there's, you know, I have my own opinion about it, but where's my PowerPoint? But okay, dryer and stuff is not right. What's going on? Hold on, guys. Hold on. I'm not like tech savvy, so. All right. So I'm just gonna, the first part, I'm just gonna give you some strategies for reading. And you may know these, you know, that's good. The handout that I gave you is yours to keep, but you can also refer to it when, as I'm going through. Okay. If you have any questions, yeah.
I didn't get a handout.
Yeah.
Check your people right there now. Did y'all not pass them back?
Oh, no, my bad.
See? I was like, pass them back. So everybody in the back should be enough for all of you.
Billy's like, I have so many papers.
Okay, there you go. All right, here we go. All right, so the reading test, on the reading test, how many of you have taken it before? All right, so if I say something that you're like, nah, that's wrong, let me know. All right, so you have 65 minutes. It's an hour and 5 minutes 5 total passages, 52 questions, 10 to 11 questions per passage, right? The reading test is objective. So it's like every answer can be found in the passage. You don't have to infer. Although it may say, your question may say infer, but even when you're inferring, you have the answers in the passage. So like any standardized test, it's not predicated upon your background knowledge. So it's like you're gonna read about something, you don't even have to know about it, because all of your information, your answers will be in the passage. Okay. All right, this is crazy. I didn't realize that. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to skim the questions of each passage to look for the overarching theme of your question. And so a lot of students, they look at the questions first, and they go back, they look at question number 1, and then they go to the passage to try to find the answer. No, look at your questions and find, see what they're asking you. Underline, I would say, the subject of the question, so you'll know what they're asking you. And then as you're going through, you have not read it, but you can easily decide what your theme is or what your summary, kind of summarize the passage. Also, and I have it in here, so yeah, there's it. So you're going to also look for and underline vocabulary questions. And this is in your questions. You're not even reading the passage yet. We're just going to the questions. Okay? Hello.
Hi. I'm stealing hers because I can keep moving around.
All right. Then you're going to go back to your passage and you're going to read that introduction, the little blurb at the beginning of your passage. So here it says, this passage is adapted from Mary Helen Stefanik, The Caliphs of Baghdad, Georgia, a novel. There. Now, some of your introductions will be longer. It will pretty much tell you what the passage is going to be about. So that will help you when it's asking you the summary, the main idea or the summary of the passage. You can get that from right there. So always read that introduction at the beginning. Pay attention to the author, the date, and the title of your passage. And that's going to be on every passage at the beginning. There's no need for you to read the directions. Don't waste your time reading the directions. But just know they're asking you to choose the best answer. So, to me, the best answer is different from the correct answer. It's the one that's closest to it, right? So they're asking you for the best answer on the reading test. Any questions so far? If you want to give me your email address, I can email it to you. Or, Dry, you can share your email address, I can email the PowerPoint to you.
We'll get that one.
Okay, we'll get there. All right, great. Vocabulary. So once upon a time, the SAT used to have like a 3,400 word list of vocabulary words. No longer, no. You may have 1 or 2 vocabulary questions on your test. And an example of that would be, there's actually none here. But if this one actually does not have, I would say maybe number 5. Number 5. The meaning of number 5. Right, fruitful intermission. So what you would do is go off context. Underline it. If you see anything in quotes, underline that, and that's what you're going to look for in your passage. Do you read the passage? You can skim the passage. Right? Underline the vocabulary word, read the context around it. Whatever you think that your definition is, plug it in. If it makes sense, go with it. If it does not, move on to the next one. Plug that in, see if it works. Okay? If you have to read the entire paragraph, go ahead. If you don't have to, don't worry about it. And this passage that, this is just one of them. Using these strategies, you can finish it basically in about, I would say 8 minutes. Because with 65 questions and 5 passages, you should give yourself 13 minutes simple math, that's all I can do, simple math. 13 minutes, but you really won't need 13 minutes per passage. You won't. Try, I need you to play on your phone because you're intimidating. Looking at me like that.
I'm just trying to get a good score.
I know you are. I know you are. Okay, so this is the 2-for-1, citing the evidence, and I'm so sorry, I thought this was gonna be bigger, but maybe it would be if I could blow the screen up, but it's not. All right, so the 2-for-1 is, let's go to question number 4. Right? So when you see those, you're going to go back in your passage, and you're going to circle every one of those lines, those quotes. So just go back in the passage, find them and circle them. So you should be circling lines 2 through 5, lines 10 through 14, lines 14 through 20, and lines 23 through 25. And then, after you do that, you're going to go back to question number 3, read question number 3, and then look at those quotes to see if you can find your answer. Once you find your answer, that's going to correspond, you're going to answer question number 4, and that's where you're going to tell them where your evidence was. So by doing so, you should get number 3 and number 4 correct. All right, then you're going to read all of your quotes one by one, eliminate or get rid of your incorrect answer choices. Predict your answer for the first part of the question. So look at question number 3. Predict your answer based on the quotes that you read. If it matches your prediction, you're good. And then confirm all parts that you've addressed in the quote. Make sure that your quote answers the full question before. Any questions on those? Some people call it daily done, I don't care. So, as you've heard from 10th grade, know your power words. Know what these words mean, because these are the types of words that you'll be asked. These will be, some of these words will be in your questions. So know what they mean. And believe it or not, of course, reading is not as hard as math. So this is pretty much it. So the passages, you'll have like five passages, sorry. The fictional passage will be the first one. Definitely the first one. Pay attention to the characters, the summary and themes, make a connection with the story. The second one, or you'll have paired passages. The key for your paired passages, answer the questions for passage 1, read the questions for passage 1, go back, find your answers, then go to passage 2. Don't read both of them and then answer the question. That would not be my suggestion. But everyone has their own way to take a test. I would say read the questions to passage 1, do your answers. Go back, passage 2, go back and find your answers. History, pay attention to your vocabulary because it could be like a long time ago. So pay attention to the vocabulary. Remember, 13 minutes, and don't be stressed, like ACT. Don't be stressed on that. Social science, you're going to have questions, or the passage is going to be related to economics, psychology, and they may have some graphs. Now, for the graphs, you won't have to compute anything. You just need to make sure that the information in the passage matches the information in the graph. make sure that they relate. For science, you do not have to be Bill Nye the Science Guy. You do not have to have background knowledge. Just use the graph, read the graphs carefully, and make sure the information matches. Okay, any questions? All right, let's go ahead and do 1 through 10. I'll give you 13 minutes to do 1 through 10. Let's see how you do.
Students come to class Sunday.
Laser focus.
No, I like it. They give it away. You get a question mark, you can. Or if you just sign it.
What's in the bottom?
Talk about it. You can have some.
No.
They don't like that though.
Huh?
Usually there was a sale, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I ain't, just can't think about it. But you know, people come to class Sunday.
They do?
You mean you some snap? I really thought Trevor was gonna come through for me, I was gonna have all kinds of snap. Cause you know what that's like.
stuff. Fast and afraid.
She told me that about something to do with that. It's like, Doctor, you better be more. Then it was a funeral home. Celebration one way or the other, right?
Either way.
Because it's not, it's always on trade. It's always a, once you find it, I ask you. You know, right? Chicks that are all around. I got this now. I'll do it. These chicks are this way. My daughter told me she was gonna wear the season now.
Oh. No right features for Emily.
And get no
It
right.
may be no right features.
Emily said, not you, baby.
Oh,
No.
that's your Emily?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's you.
She done told me.
Right.
Emily Dryden done told me she gonna go somewhere this season. Look, I need to have snow. I'm like, honey, snow is cool when you see it for one time and then leave.
Right.
Snow is not cool when you trek through it every day.
Shovel.
My boy ain't be figuring that part out. See, I see it snow. He said, man, I ain't been outside in 3 days.
Go ahead.
8.
8 more minutes. I don't know.
I ain't been in that thing. I'll take it personally. I did have some Bruce do one year. And then, they call it voluntary groups. Listen up. They call it voluntary group schemes. So I can teach you about that college. It's still some knowledge. I can give away his prizes. Like, we don't have what? It's too damn good board though. You're supposed to pay them the fees, but I have to go through like 50 emails and 17 forms, and it's like really important. I bought those chips. The trash can over there. You ever had one of those? That one chip challenge? You're getting students to build that spread. She was lady. That. We were missing one, I walked too.
Who's still working? Okay, 3 more minutes.
Is that like extra time, or that's like part of it?
That's
No, that's part of it.
Yeah, that's 13.
Yeah, no.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I had no suspicion.
Yeah,
I didn't try
just
mine.
do
You do you.
yeah.
Once the door closes, whatever happens, there.
Nothing about it.
I also felt sad. So I just texted her and was like, oh wait, no, I can't.
Yeah, but Miss Vivi herself.
Like, it was supposed to be.
Why would she call herself that was the most. I have two.
Yeah, I had C and A though.
I did too.
I
was definitely expecting
You know what, you don't just
It makes sense. If you look at B, it makes more sense.
Okay, maybe I don't
I did the
Really?
my SAT, like my last SAT.
No, man, you're
Yeah, I know they're like that.
Like, wait, let's go over it.
and then B.
Alright, so everybody, let's see what you have. Alright, so the person that gets them all right, free pizza. Compliments of dryer. Alright, number 1, which I get.
I don't even want to say my name.
Hey, yeah. Yeah, because
You
they're,
have like an answer key?
huh?
Did you do it?
I did it also. But listen, here's the deal. There were a lot of we and us. Yeah, so he was referring to himself, okay, or herself. Oh, Mary Ellen, maybe she was herself. All right, so one of the former students. Number 2.
B.
Good, B.
Hey, wait. I don't know if I like you giving away my pizza based on honesty.
Y'all get a piece if you get them all right. Don't worry about it. All right, number 3. Let's see how y'all did on this. Number 3, what'd you get?
C. D.
Oh.
C. Please tell me.
C. Okay, please don't. All right, so what did you get for number 4?
B.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
No, he gets no pizza.
Let me ask you this. Who got C and B? You got C and B?
Sorry.
Did you get C and B?
Like C for 3 and then 4 for B?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Who got D and B?
B.
Okay, you are right. What happened to you? Yeah, it's D and B. Good job.
It was on my
D and B. All right, number 5, what'd y'all get?
A.
Good job.
I honestly kind of went.
Number 6, what'd you get?
B.
D.
B.
Oh, crap. Oh, I went between those two though.
Okay, so remember, Ralford is the dude that asked her the question, right? So if we go back, let's find Ralford.
No,
I don't like that name.
I didn't find that.
He was like,
So let's go over to line number 30.
no, he was like.
Line number 30. And then I'm going to read down. So it says, after her travels with Dr. Miller, Miss Spivey continued her education by attending Barnard College in New York City. She told us all that at school the first day. Okay. When my little brother Ralford asked, what did she study at Barnard College? Miss Spivey explained that Barnard, which she wrote on the blackboard, was a sister school of Columbia University, of which she expected we all had heard. She's assuming that they know. They don't know.
But he was asking like what she was studying, not about the college itself.
Right.
He was curious.
Right, and so she went ahead and tell him about the college. I'm thinking like, yeah, to make herself like look good. And they did not know. So she has the exaggerated view of what information should be considered common knowledge. Like, don't y'all know that? You know? That's it.
But he wasn't asking like about the stuff that she thought he should know. He was like curious about what she did study.
You can call it art.
But the interaction, what did she do? How did she respond? That. The way she responded to him. All right, number 7 and dryer. Yeah, we can have like, no. Number 7, what'd you get?
D. C.
D.
C.
Okay, so think of these words. So if you're wandering around, you just wandering, you don't like, oh, there's a room by accident. But if you're marching to something, you mean to go do it. So that's D. Okay? Number 8, C. Number 9,
C.
And number 10,
B.
did you get C and B?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, and also one thing I think I forgot to tell you, when you look at your questions, I did say this, when you look at your questions, make sure you're looking for like key words. So those key words, like if you look at number 8, no, not 8, the one with Ralph. Number 6, you can just go back in the passage and find his name and just read around there so you won't have to read the whole thing. All right, dry your shoe. All right, I'll be back with English. Did anybody get them all right?
No way.
Not you.
I see you erased it.
With what eraser? You didn't think you eraser.
Thank you.
I mean, I
Thank you.
She's like, I'm out.
I don't know. I don't know.
She has an eraser.
I do. I think so.
I don't want cheese.
Maybe I should go.
Italy.
That was yours.
It stayed shut. That's good. You do it, Alan. You go. Drop stuff.
I'm gonna have to do it.
Actually, no, I do. I have learning.
Oh, first.
He lives in your basement. It's cold.
Well, then just right. Hang on earlier too.
I mean, I do. It's okay. And I don't know what race is, but I know how to like.
What is this? Really nice.
All right, so we're gonna pick back up as soon as Lily leaves. Bye, ladies, I'll take care. All right, so continuing our conversation, virtually every SAT is going to, I mean, again, there's common themes that you'll see amongst all of them. Okay, so before you leave, Lily, I printed, and please take them, and take them for your friends too, if you have them, because we wasted a whole bunch of paper, and I don't want the college to yell at me. I printed a complete SAT practice test. Okay, one of the things that I do this probably quite a bit for kids in high school who come to me and say, I need help with this. And generally, you know, you have two options. You can buy the SAT book, which is about this thick, and read through about the first 100 pages and then kind of get tired and give up and then just kind of be like, you know what, I'll take my chances. And what did my son tell me? I'm going to establish a baseline. That's what he told me when he went to take it the first time. I said, are you ready for it? And he goes, I'm going today to establish the baseline. Okay, babe, that's great. Like this is some kind of concussion protocol. And now we're going to figure out exactly where you stand the first time when you take it without trying to study for it at all. Probably the biggest piece of advice I can give any of you, find practice tests and work through as many of them as possible. Okay? They recycle the questions. Maybe not the test, but they recycle the questions. And when I say they recycle them, meaning The concepts of the questions will remain the same. They might change the numbers around some. And so, find as many practice tests as you can and take them. All right. But one of the common questions you get, and it's on all of them, and you got to be able to find it when you see it, is this notion of triangles, and specifically right triangles. All right. So it's questions involving triangles, and then most specifically right triangles. Okay. And with right triangles, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. All right, it's called Pythagorean theorem. And we use it all the time. All right, now, learn this Pythagorean triple. Learn the Pythagorean triple known as 3, 4, 5. I bet you $50 to a glazed donut that you'll see 3, 4, 5 as a right triangle. It shows up on every test you have. The problem is they don't do it as 3, 4, 5. They encode it. All right? 3, 4, 5 is encoded by any multiple that you want to multiply by. So 3, 4, 5 is a right triangle. 6, 8, 10 is a right triangle. 9, 12, 15 is a right triangle. 12, 16, 20 is a right triangle. Does that make sense? Any function thereof, any multiplication you do, you created another right triangle. All right? Why do I say you want to memorize that one? Look at what you have here. You got a triangle ABC. So in this case, they tell you that angle B is 90 degrees. This is A, this is C. And what do they tell you? AC is 20. BC is 16. Do we agree? That's what they give us. And that's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. So you see, if this is 20 and this is 16, I know that's 12. Okay? The 3, 4, 5 triangle, I'm telling you, it shows up all the time. It's because if you start adjusting these numbers and like make this one like 22, it becomes hard to make them all perfect squares. And then you got to go to your calculator and you're like, oh, what's the square root of 47? And then you're sitting there like, oh, square root of 47 is like 6.837. And then it's like, well, how do I deal with this number? So what they want to do is make sure that when you get done, you get a perfect square when you're finished. Right? And so there's a limited number of Pythagorean triples. There's an infinite number of Pythagorean triples, but a limited number of ones that they'll use. And 3, 4, 5 becomes the most common. Okay? So, very common sides on the right triangle. Okay? Now, with this, you'll use these, which is sine of an angle, cosine of an angle, and tangent of an angle. Now, if you've never had trig, okay, you may be in kind of over your head a little bit on this. It's really not that bad. What they'll say is, they'll say something like, well, what's sine C? If they ask you for sine C, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse. Does that make sense? Let's say they ask you for cosine A. Cosine A is adjacent over hypotenuse. And the opposite and adjacent gets kind of confusing for students, but it shouldn't, because opposite is always looking directly across from the angle that we're referencing. So if I'm looking at angle A, the opposite side to angle A is 16. If I'm looking at angle C, the opposite side to angle C is 12. Okay? People are like, what's the opposite of B? Well, the opposite of B is called the hypotenuse, because it's the right angle. Okay, the right angle always faces or points at the hypotenuse. So cosine A would be the adjacent. Okay. You'll see questions about sine and cosine a lot. Okay, they're almost always the same. They're almost always opposite over hypotenuse or adjacent over hypotenuse. And you just got to work the triangle to get to the pieces you need. Okay? This one's actually a little bit different, because you got to pay attention to the way the letters are labeled, because it tells you that they're similar. What does it mean for two triangles to be similar?
They have the same angles and like the.
Their angles are the same, and their ratios are the same.
Yeah.
Their sides aren't congruent, right? If one's 8, the other one might be 4. If one's 10, the other one's going to be 5. That's what it means. The ratio is the same. And so in essence, when they ask you for sine F is the same thing as sine C. Does that make sense? Because the ratios are the same. And so if they ask you what sine C is, it's 12 over 20.
So we do need to know the sine, cosine.
Yeah, you'd
stuff?
have to know, yes.
Formula?
The sine and cosine are going to be on there. And I'm not certain that they're on that little formula sheet that they give you.
I don't think so.
Like they give you formulas that you get to have, and then there's a whole series of formulas that they don't give you. Like this is important. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And sine is opposite over hypotenuse. And you have to know that. All right. Probably also be helpful to know the slope between 2 points, by the way, as well. And how to write an equation through a line and a point. Okay.
The first one is.
Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So again, you're in the angle, and you're looking opposite that angle to the side that you see. So yeah, I tell students all the time, the way you see this, I want to make sure I'm being correct, because I think you corrected me last time I said something at one of the other ones we did with Professor McGriff. We're sitting crisscross applesauce.
That's right.
Crisscross applesauce.
That's right.
If I'm sitting crisscross applesauce right here, and I'm looking out, what side do I look at? That's the opposite side. All right.
Your students are looking like, what in the world?
What's that?
They're looking like, what is crisscross applesauce?
Yeah. Right now they try to
Oh,
figure
they
out
don't.
what the other term would have been, but I ain't gonna tell them.
You better not say it.
I ain't gonna say it.
Your live stream, don't do it.
No. Thank God my live streams are so PG anyway. All right.
Jar's thought I think never PG.
We PG for the first 5 minutes. Maybe not. All right. We're close.
Maybe the last 5.
Baby, get ready for that. Just stick over there with Miss Bartlett, okay? All right. Any questions on this? Let me hit you with this one. You okay, baby? Do you need me to make it bigger?
No.
You can see it okay? All right. Can we make an agreement just between you and I right now, right here, right now, in this very moment? The answer is never cannot be determined.
Like actually?
For real.
Really?
Like if they give you the problem, then you can determine what it is.
Okay.
Like they're not going to ask you a question and then have you go, can't be determined. No, if they ask it to you, there's a way you can figure it out. You just don't know.
Okay.
I mean, honest to God, I do it all the time. Like I'll say to students, like, this is multiple choice. Is the answer this, 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 or it cannot be determined? It cannot be determined is the biggest sucker answer alive. Okay? I wouldn't be asking you the question if it couldn't be determined. Let's just be real about that. I would not ask you the question if you couldn't figure it out. Okay?
But the ones that they're like, none of these answers are those.
Oh, no, now that, yeah, I mean, it could be solving, again, if I had to guess, I'm not guessing none of these as the choice. All right?
Okay.
But I'm definitely never putting the values cannot be determined.
Okay.
That ain't never gonna happen, never gonna put that. Because here's the problem. See, time is a factor. Okay? Time is a factor. Not so much on the SAT as is the ACT. ACT time's a real factor. Okay? Because it's 60 questions in 60 minutes and you gotta try to push through as fast as you can. What they don't want you to do is sit there for 15 minutes and then go, oh yeah, you can't do it. Does that make sense? And at what point are you going to make the determination, oh yeah, I can't do it because I don't have, you know what I'm saying? Like, you'd have to trust that somebody's going to make that determination real quick. And the fact of the matter is, you're dealing with people who, A, aren't super confident in what they're looking at, and they might spend 10 minutes trying to figure out whether it can be determined or not. So yeah, I'd say as a general rule, it's never going to be that. It's going to be one of the answers that's given. Now, here's the problem. As you look at that, you say to yourself, there's no way we can figure that out. Am I right? Pretty much. But what do we know?
Yeah.
8 and 2 share a common base. Okay? Anytime you do this, if you see a common base, you want to get towards the common base. All right? You want to get towards the common base. What's 8? 8 is 2 to what?
Third.
2 to the third, yeah? What are the rules of exponents?
Subtract when it's dividing. Well,
Yes.
multiply.
Multiply first, right?
3 to the x.
So you want to multiply 3 to the x, you get 2 to the 3x, yeah? Over 2y, right? What do you do from there?
3x minus y.
2 to the 3x minus y. Yeah. Now, even when you get to there, you may be going like, so? What's the first thing they told you? If 3x minus y is what? So if 3x minus y is 12,
Oh, then it's 2 to the 12.
mind blown. Okay? Because the thing is, as you look at these, this and this, you swear that there's no way they can be related. Like, and sometimes people look at it and go, why are you even telling me that? Like, why are you telling me that 3x minus y is equal to 12? Who cares? If I'm trying to solve this, why do I care about this?
I thought whenever you like divide it out, like you subtract or whatever, I thought you can get rid of the 2. Like I
No,
thought
you
it
can't
could
get rid
just
of
be
the 2.
3x.
The bases have to stay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So you put the 2y and y.
So the rule is, if you have x to the 8th over x to the 2nd, you subtract the exponents. Right? That's the rule for exponents. But again, the SAT is not going to ask you that. No chance. It will want to know, can you get to the exponent question? But it'll do it in a cryptic way. Okay? And this is why I don't like the SAT. Is it's never direct. Like, it's never just, here's the problem, go get me the answer. It's always, here's the problem, now you need some more information to be able to try to get to the answer. Like that's the common theme of what you're seeing in there. Okay, any questions on this one?
And it's only 12 because.
Because it said 3x minus y would equal 12. Now let's be honest, if it said 5x plus 2y equals 30, well then you can't find it. But they're not going to do that. Like that's not what's going to happen. If they do it, it's because they can. Okay. I'm not gonna do this one due to time constraints. This is a classic volume question. Okay, there's a certain amount of geometry on the test. Okay, if it asks you for the volume, what you need to recognize, you have a cylinder in the middle. Okay, you have a cylinder in the middle, and then you have two cones on top. If you have to find the volume, again, it will never be direct, right? Like, you'll never see a problem where they go, find the volume. Like, that's just too easy. Okay? So what you'll see is this with a cylinder on top of it, or this with a cylinder cut out in the middle, or something to that effect, where you have to piece the pieces together and then either add them together or subtract them depending on how the problem sets up. Does that make sense? All right. So I'm not going to, due to time constraints, I'm not going to work through the formulas for that. Those formulas are actually on the formula sheet that they give you, though. They give you a geometry formula sheet, and you'll have the volume formulas given to you. I want to talk about this just as a quick reminder so that everybody remembers. Which equation is that? It's definitely quadratic, but what's the shift that we're looking at? It goes up 2. Now, how does that translate into an equation that you see? It is a. It's x squared plus 2. All right. As a reminder, x squared plus 2 goes up 2. X plus 2 squared goes left 2. X squared minus 2 goes down 2. And then x minus 2 squared goes right 2. Okay? There's almost always a single question about shifting. And they may give you a point and then say, what is f of x plus 3 going to be? Or they may give you a point and say, what will 4f of x minus 5 be? That type of stuff. Okay? But there's almost always something about shifting. So I wanted to mention it to you because I think sometimes you get past that, you forget the basic part. Right? Like, you're looking at it like, well, damn, it went up 2. Which one is it? I don't remember that. So just wanted to kind of refresh your memory on it, because you tend to see that kind of stuff quite a bit. Oh, this one beat your butt right here. This beat your butt. Okay. Classic SAT format, Brooklyn, is they never give you a number. It's always, she paid P. They're B bricks. They're in books in the library, right? The problems get so much easier when they go like this. There was 15 bricks in the pallet. He laid 6 of them. How many are left? Right? Like, that problem's easy. You can go like this. 9 out of 15. That's what's left. Okay? But when they tell you that you have B bricks and K of them got laid, then you're like, great. All right. So, what percent of bricks have not been stacked? So, what percent of bricks are still left in the piece? Well, how many bricks were total? How many we start with?
You don't know.
But what are they represented as? Well, no, not 100%. How many bricks were there total?
Oh, B.
There was B bricks, yeah?
Yeah.
So, there were B bricks. If we laid all of them, we got 0 bricks left, yeah? If we didn't lay any, we got B bricks left, yeah? How many bricks do we have left? Not K. Not K. What did K represent?
The ones that have been stacked.
The ones that have been stacked,
B
right?
minus K.
We have B minus K left over.
Yeah.
We have B minus K left over. Brooklyn, we okay? We started with B. We laid K of them down. The one that are left over are B minus K.
Okay.
So the fraction is B minus K over B. Do we agree? Now, what percentage is that?
We don't know.
We don't know. How do you find a percentage? To go from a decimal to a percent, what do you do?
Divide by 100.
That's to go from a percent to a decimal, we divide by 100.
Multiply by 100.
We multiply by 100. What's wrong?
What is the point of this? It's just confusing for no reason.
And what do you think the rest of the test is like?
The same. I'm just saying, like, why would they even like come up with this? It's pretty
So-
much you know nothing and you're just like rearranging it.
Yes, and that for me, Professor McGriff and I were discussing which one we think is easier. I think ACT math is way easier than SAT math. Because ACT math doesn't do this kind of stuff. It's more straightforward. The problem with the ACT math is it's so many questions and it's such a limited amount of time and you just kind of bog out of time and then the next thing you know you got 20 questions left and she just said time and you're like, oh great, C. And while I'm on the subject, can I say this? If you have to get to a point where you guess, just pick the same letter every single time.
I feel like I always pick C.
C is, I mean, I don't care which one you pick, just pick the same one every single time. You'll maximize your score that way.
I heard somebody say, I don't know if this is true, but is it true like if you leave one of them blank, like they don't take points off, but like they just don't add any? Versus like if you get it wrong, they take points off?
So I didn't think the SAT penalized you for guessing anymore.
It
It
does.
doesn't. Okay, so fill one in either way, just don't leave it blank.
Yeah.
Yes or no? Okay.
When Professor McGriff comes back up, I'm gonna Google that. I want to say they stopped penalizing you. Back in the day, it used to be you got 1 point if you got it right. You got 0 points if you left it blank, and then you lost a half a point
Yeah.
if you got it wrong. And I want to say they stopped doing that.
Okay.
And now it's just
So
you
you might as
feel
well
free to
guess
guess
them.
them all. Yeah. And the thing is, like, students have a really, and I love y'all, and I've been there, monsters, I've been there. Okay, where you going like this? C. Oh, it can't be C 4 times in a row. Right? Like, and now you're going like this. What are you going to get? Well, I ain't guessing C because that's 4 in a row right there. So I'm going to put A. Why? Well, because there ain't been but 3 A's. And we on question number 17. So I feel like I would put A if I were to make it. Look, it's a computerized test. Okay? The computer generates the answers. All right? It's generating them and it's doing it randomly. You are not going to out-randomize the computer. Okay? No matter how good you think you are at guessing, you are not going to out-randomize the computer. So your best option is pick the same letter and go with it every time. Not for the whole test, and that's a bad strategy. But pick the same letter and just go for it every time, and that will maximize your score in the long run.
Okay.
Okay? Now, if you say, you know what, I'm just picking A for all of them because I don't care if I don't know, I'm just putting A. And then you get to the end and you're like, damn, okay, I think it might be B or it might be C. But I feel like it's either B or C. I'm not saying pick A for that. I mean, if you're saying you believe it's either B or C, then pick one of those. What I'm saying is there are times, and it's going to, ma'am, I'm telling you it's going to happen, where you read the problem and then your first thought, I don't care how Christian you are, is WTF.
Wait till Friday.
What the freak?
Duh, I
and you just looking at it going like this. Lord, got my pencil. B. All right. If it's that case, just go with the same letter every single time. All right. If you're just trying to figure it out, just go with the same letter. every time.
Not you, her.
Is that what she was saying to you?
I said B for blessed.
Oh,
Oh, B, yeah, 100%.
She said, "Be for blessed."
Yeah.
That's what I said. We can't overthink it because now we got multiple options.
Don't ever pick D for devil. Although it'd be the devil that's trying to get you to pick D, so you never know.
Who knows?
All right. I love the circles and the triangles inscribed in circles and the squares inscribed in circles. Like, to me, those are really, really fun. AB is equal to AO. And they want to know the measure of ABO. Hey, Professor McGriff, wait till Friday moment right here.
okay.
Wait till Friday moment right here.
Are these like to scale? Because obviously that's not 90 degrees. So can we cross that off?
So,
Yeah.
okay, the answer is no, they're not always to scale. They could be to scale. But yeah, you could pretty much functionally rule out 90. You could probably rule out 15. All right? You could probably rule out 15.
I'm saying 60.
What's that?
Actually,
ABO.
I'm gonna say 60 just as a guess now.
I'm gonna say 45.
Based to
Okay,
scale.
Yeah, I'm guessing. I'm sticking with C.
45? 45?
45.
45?
I feel like let me do this.
60. Watch them.
You're going to go 60?
Yeah, I'm saying
45?
I don't know.
Watch it be 30. Like none of us got it right.
45?
It's like 15.
45?
It's definitely
60? Brooklyn's going, I wish we could do the SAT where we all just give our answers out. Just everybody in the classroom just be like, I'm putting C for number 17. What you got, baby John? 15? 15's a good guess. The answer is 60.
Oh. Wait, is it actually?
Yeah, it really is.
What? How do you know? You already
Well-
did these?
No, that one you can look at it and tell.
Huh? I thought you just
Wait,
said they're not
please
to scale
explain.
though.
Please explain how.
Well, no, I can look at it and tell that it's not to scale, it's to scale and it's not right. This distance here, yeah? Is the radius?
Uh huh.
Oh, okay.
What's this distance?
The radius. So those have to
So
be.
this,
Oh,
and
so
this
all three
have to be the same, right?
equal.
Yeah.
So it's a 60.
and then if this and this are the same, then all three sides are the same. If all three sides are the same, it's an equilateral triangle. If it's an equilateral triangle, it's a 60, 60, 60 triangle.
Oh, okay.
And that's how you know.
Got it.
But that's how you solve it?
Yeah.
Like nobody would think about. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Like
don't
I would be
scale rate.
subtracting like half of it.
So again, go back to how we started this.
I'm just doing everything to scale.
Then-
If I don't know the
If you don't know, it's better than nothing, for sure. But go back to how we started. What did we say? They never ask you directly for the information.
That's stupid.
It's always indirectly, right? See, they won't say to you, we have an equilateral triangle, what are all three angles? That's the direct way to say that. We have an equilateral triangle, what are all three angles? Because that's essentially what they're asking you.
The work isn't that hard. They just word it stupid.
It's the way they word it. It's the way they word it. So when you look at this and you realize equal, equal, you know we're dealing with the isosceles triangle at least. And then once you get this last side's equal, then it's equilateral and you're free to go. Okay?
Wait, sorry. How did you know that the third side was equal?
Did you set it in the problem?
Huh?
It
It said
says
it in the problem.
A.
It says AB
Oh.
is equal
Oh,
to
okay.
AO. So this is this.
And then those are both the radius. So.
Yeah.
Both the radius.
Oh, that's so.
This
Okay,
is
it's
not
actually
radius.
really easy. You just didn't.
I didn't see that. I was
Okay, got it.
Oh, I just. Wait.
Come on.
So you're just going based on the O then?
So yeah, so we're going based on what? What we have is that this piece here that's attached to O, and this piece here which is attached to the circle, that these two are the same. Do we agree? Because they're both radiuses. Once they tell us that this piece is the same as this piece, that's a wrap. At that point, it becomes an equilateral triangle. If it's an equilateral triangle, then the three angles are all the same. Okay? I'll answer the question. I get paid for it.
I'm just trying to explain to her, but I think.
You got it? It's okay to say, no, I won't be mad at you. I'll still give you pizza. You good? All right, you want some candy? Sometimes you just need candy to make you feel better.
I'm gonna need some on the SAT. I'm gonna need some in the test. Jari, you wanna come give out the test? Give us candy halfway through? Y'all need some candy?
And sneak us the answer.
Yeah,
No, I'll
like
tell
in the
you.
wrapper, in the candy wrapper.
I'll tell you where Publix is and you can buy your own though.
They used to give out peppermints for like FSA.
Oh, did they?
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
To keep
for
us
like
focused or
elementary
something.
standardized stuff, they give you
Go to
that.
Sonic, they give you peppermint.
They haven't been recently.
Alright, A is an odd integer, B is an even integer. Which of the following is an even integer?
An odd.
Or an odd integer? When you have a problem like that, can we just safe to say, like, make A an odd number and B an even number and just start computing values?
Yeah.
Okay? Like, should not be that hard. A is odd, 3. B is even, 2. 3B, 6. No, that's not odd. A plus 3.
And it's gonna work with any number.
Yeah,
even-
it'll work with any number you choose.
See, some questions seem so simple and some are really confusing.
Yeah, like this seems really simple, but a lot.
Yeah, this one is simple,
Yeah.
if you know the answer. Okay. I'll tell you, I thought the last one was simple.
It was once I understood it, but like,
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, everything is simple once you know how to do it.
but when you're like rushed and you're like looking at a bunch of stuff, it's hard.
I'm looking
to
at
think
triangles
about
inside
it.
of circles, I'm not thinking about that.
Oh wait, what was the answer?
We calculated, I don't know.
Oh.
We know it's not A, we know it's not B,
It's
it
not
definitely ain't C, because 2 times anything's gonna be even. So it's probably gonna be
It's
D,
D.
3 plus 2 times 2. That's odd. Okay. We good? This is probably as straightforward as one as you get out of them. This is probably about as straightforward as you get out of them.
Yeah.
10 plus x is 5 more than 10. What is the value of 2x? All right. Right. So 10 plus x is 5 more than 10. X is 5. 2x is 10. That's as straightforward as you get. And here's the sad thing, that's not even that straightforward. But for SAT, that's about as straightforward as it's going to get.
So
Alright.
the 5 more than 10 is why you put 15?
Yeah, 5 more than 10. 5 more than 10 is 15.
Why can't they, yeah.
Why can't they just say 15? Because if they say 15, it's an easier question.
They're annoying with that.
Okay? It's what they do. It's what they do.
On
Yes.
the odd integer, you put a, could you go back to this one? You said the answer was.
Yeah, I saw that and I didn't think it was right either.
A?
Oh,
He said D, but he meant C. Oh wait, no, it's
No,
D. Oh no, it is
it's
D.
D.
Oh, I was looking at E.
A plus 2B. A plus 2B is 7. That's an odd number. Okay. All right. Again, you know, like to beat home that triangle idea, how else can they rephrase it? This is 20, this is 12. Never ever will they say, what's the missing side? That's too direct. What's the perimeter? What's the area? Does everybody see what I'm saying? See, I give you the triangle, I make it the right triangle because that's nice and convenient. But then I say, well, what's the perimeter? Well, in order to get the perimeter, you gotta find the missing side. And then add them all together. In order to do the area, what do you gotta do? Find the missing side, and then do 1/2 base times height. Does that make sense? So it's never just get the answer directly, it's always get the answer and then pivot. And then pivot. All right, I'm getting ready to yield the floor back. But I want to look at one last one. And this will be the last one that we look at to get today. All right. This circle is x squared plus y squared equals 25. We know that because it's a circle centered at 0 and the radius is 5. X squared plus y squared equals 25. The x coordinate is 3. So if on this circle, this is 3, and x squared plus y squared is equal to 25,
Wait,
C has an x coordinate of 3,
You just look.
x is 3, what's y?
oh.
We learned a lesson from just a minute ago.
Then it's
3,
3. Oh, it's the 3, 4, 5.
of course it's 3, 4, 5,
Oh.
because it's almost always 3, 4, 5.
And that one's 3, and then 5 squared is 25.
Okay? Now here's the problem. We know that C is 3, 4. Here's where you run into problems. You got to find the line tangent here. What does tangent mean? Touches at the one point and then goes anywhere else. Yeah. That's tangent, but that's not. That's tangent of a triangle. This is a straight line.
Wouldn't you just like use that and then find where it crosses either the x or y?
Well, how are you going to find that? I mean, I'm all
Okay,
in.
never mind.
Oh,
It's very simple if you know the trick.
is it that one? Something to do with the
What's the
negative
slope?
5?
What's the slope from here to here?
Up 3 over 4.
Up 3 over 4, right?
Uh-huh.
No.
Oh,
Up 4 over 3, yes? Up 4 over 3. Slope is 4/3, yes?
yeah.
Start at 0, 0.
Yeah.
What's the relationship between this line and this line?
Oh, because that's the radius of the circle.
They're perpendicular, yes?
Uh-huh, so they have the same slope.
That's parallel.
Or, oh, it's
What's
a
the slope?
negative. Negative reciprocal of it, yeah.
Negative reciprocal. So once you find the slope of the line at O, the opposite reciprocal gives you the tangent line. They're so tricky. Okay. All right.
All right,
I yield to you for the rest of the time.
all right, so it's always me, I'm always like the one.
Oh, well, that-
Anybody still copying this? No? Okay.
What happened there? You good?
All right, Dryer, come back.
Alt tab.
What?
Alt tab. Hold it up. Hold it. Press it.
Oh, okay.
Hold it. Press it again.
Gotta keep it.
No, don't keep pressing.
Whoa, you told me, oh.
There you go.
All right.
I think you can just click on the little.
Just hush, look, look.
No, you good.
Because, you know, I'm not good at this.
Look on the tab up there.
No, because it's not the same one.
Oh, it's the same one. Yeah, you smart.
I saw this thing, I've been like watching SAT practice videos, and I saw this thing where, and it said that if 3 of the options are a semicolon, a colon, and a period, then it's none of them because they all mean the same thing.
They don't.
Okay, that didn't sound right.
I was about to say what?
Or they all have like the same,
They have a different use. They have a different purpose. So I'll say that. All right, so for time's sake, let me just make. All right, so the writing and language test, you have 35 minutes, 44 questions. So you have 4 passages this time, 11 questions per passage. And so the object of the game is what I have here in italics. Choose the answer to each question that most effectively improves the quality of writing in the passage or that makes the passage conform to the conventions of standard written English. Make it concise, make it clear, make it understandable. If it's long, make it short. The English part, there's a lot of tips. I'm just going to go through this really fast. So the easiest way to do it, and everyone has a passage. So if you look at the first one, number 1 on the first page, the best thing to do, this is what you're going to read. For reading, I advise you to skim, but for English, for the language, writing and language test, you're going to read it. So think of it as peer editing. You're reading it and you're correcting the mistakes as you go. And then you look over and see if your answer is in your questions, in your answer choices, right? Read through the entire sentence, including the underlined portion. Of course you're going to read the underlined portion because that's what the error that you're supposed to correct. Get the full context of the sentence before you look at the answer choices. Context is important because you want to make sure that you are like falling in line with what the passage is saying. Do not focus on picking the right answer and get rid of the wrong answers first. You're always going to have A, B, C, D. So get rid of the wrong answers first. Try to get rid of at least 2 wrong answers. I didn't think that was going to work, but it's okay, I tried. All right, so the ones, some of the questions that really stump people would be the ones that's asked for which should be deleted. So that usually comes at the end of a paragraph. So look at the main idea of the paragraph, then get rid of the answers that are most relevant until you find one that's left. And that's going to be your choice. Never spend more than 1 minute on a problem and the answer, go ahead and write it in your book and then transfer your answers to your answer sheet. So that may be quicker for you. All right. There's 8 things you need to be mindful of when you're taking the English test, taking the writing and language. Subject-verb agreement. Make sure your verb agrees with your subject at all times. Get rid of a prepositional phrase and then look at the subject. All right. I see people writing, so I'm just going to slow down for a second. But this is like your English 4, Comp 1, grammar stuff. This is the main thing that's on the test. Verb tense, present, past, future. Those are the main 3, but then you still have the past, present, and perfect tense, and future tense. But again, as you're reading it, it's easier to just read it and correct it as you go. And then we say, this doesn't sound right. Well, because we really don't use correct English all the time. But if it doesn't sound right, chances are it's probably right. Pronoun and antecedent, make sure that we know what they're talking about. If it's he, she, whatever it's pertaining to, make sure that you know what it is talking about. Leave no room for error or question. Adjectives and adverbs, you know the adjective modifies a noun, adverb modifies a verb, adjective or other adverbs. And we're going to do this passage together, so it'll be
Okay, I didn't say my last one.
all right. So number 5 would be Your modifiers, I think I have this on my phone. Modifiers, let me find it, because it didn't say, hold on a second. All right, number 5 would be your modifiers, your modifiers. Again, make sure that everything is aligned. So if you're talking about, whatever you're talking about, make sure it's clear and precise in the passage. Parallelism, does everyone know what that is? No? Okay. So if your sentence starts out in past tense, make sure it continues in past tense. Parallel, it doesn't jump from past to present unless there's a new sentence. Okay? So make sure everything follows along, lines up. Sentence structure, if you have like a noun and a verb and the sentence continues, the next sentence should be a noun and a verb. Or if it's a gerund, like running, packing, or anything like that, then that needs to follow along. So it just always needs to be parallel. Everything needs to flow. That's the easiest way. And then the last thing is punctuation. Semicolon. Right, this is a heavy duty eraser here.
Only the best for you.
I'll take the easy one. Semicolon. So a semicolon comes between two independent clauses. So this is saying that I could stop, but I'm going to continue. I'm hungry, semicolon. I'm going to Chick-fil-A. Independent clauses. I'm hungry is a sentence. I'm going to Chick-fil-A is a sentence. I could stop right here, but I'm going to keep going. That's a semicolon.
Why can't it be a period?
It could.
Okay, it could be.
It could.
Okay.
It could. But make me. You want one sentence or two sentences?
One.
Concise. One.
So if it's like a multiple choice one and it has a semicolon and a period, which one would you choose?
Semicolon.
Semicolon? Okay.
If it said, I'm hungry, so I'm going to Chick-fil-A, would that be a colon?
That'd just be a comma?
Comma.
Oh.
Fanboys. Remember those? The conjunctions.
No.
Or, and, nor, but, or, yet. So, if you see one of those words, you need a comma in front of it. I'm going to Chick-fil-A, comma. So I'm hungry, so I'm going to Chick-fil-A. Yes.
And it can't be I'm hungry, comma, I'm going to.
Mm-mm.
That's
Okay.
Okay. So anytime it's got like any of those words, it's a comma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Comma, two dependent clauses. Now I can't think of one. That's sad.
A semicolon was too independent, right?
Right, two independent. I'm trying to think of one for a comma. So greedy. I want to eat at Longhorn, but I don't have time. This is a sentence, but this is not. But I don't have time, that's not a sentence. That's the but, that's a fact. It's a phrase. Okay, there's your comma. Period.
Okay.
That was like the shortest version I could ever put that.
And what about a colon?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh, this.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that a colon for like listing stuff?
Mm-hmm.
But isn't it also for something else?
You usually would do like this. I have not two.
I was confused. I was
Yeah.
like,
The following test.
How ironic.
Man.
We're doing grammar.
I was like, I have two following.
English.
I thought she meant like two, but read it the wrong way.
Okay, that's your list. Get the following items from the store: bananas, milk, juice. That's
Okay.
your list.
Okay.
And you still have the list this way too. What?
No, for real.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed my son had a problem with, and that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up, he gets confused when you start listing about whether there's a comma before the and on that last piece, or whether there's
Oh,
not a
yeah.
comma on that last piece.
Comma, comma, and. So it's juice, comma, milk, comma, and bread.
Okay.
So a comma does go before and.
The Oxford.
Fanboys. Remember I just said that, yeah. I'm quick to throw up fanboys, yeah. So it always goes in front of the and in the list. Comma, comma, and.
Is it always, like, anytime you use any of the letters in fanboys, there's always a comma? Or like,
Depending on how you use it in the sentence, I
Okay.
can't say always,
okay.
but most times.
But like
it is.
most of the time on the SAT?
Yeah,
Okay.
most of the times it is. So even if there were like, or another item here, bread, milk, jelly. Jelly, comma, juice, comma. There will always be the comma in front of the and.
Okay. Can a colon be an independent and a dependent?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I
One or
thought.
the other.
Like it can't be, I have the following test.
No.
They are
No,
blah,
no,
blah,
no,
blah.
no.
Okay.
And then for that, you say, I have the following test,
Period.
colon, and listed.
Oh, yeah.
Listed. Or my tests are. But the key to good writing is making it concise. So as less as possible, but the same meaning,
Mhm.
giving you a bang for your buck.
Can you go with capitalization too? Like math, is math capital M or no?
Oh, yeah, like.
Oh, yeah, there's like random words on these tests.
Like earth.
That's interesting because
No, because it's a planet.
it would be the usage math class. I have a math class, lowercase.
Right.
Right. But the subject,
I'm majoring in math,
capital.
capital.
Capital. It's just like college and college. Like we use college, Polk State College, capital C,
Okay.
but the college is located in Winter Haven, lowercase c.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
No capitalization on this test,
Is it not?
punctuation. Punctuation,
oh, is there a spelling section?
grammar. Be blessed.
No, actually, there is, I think it's part of this section where they'll be spelled wrong, like, the answer choices will be the same word, but it'll be spelled wrong, some of them. I think,
I've never seen it,
or maybe
But-
I'm just making stuff up.
you might be. You're just trying to make it hard for yourself. But I've never seen where there's no vocabulary and there's not any spelling.
Maybe not.
Okay.
So there's not there, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that could be on the
Oh,
ACT.
no, that is there. I'm pretty sure that actually.
That is there. That's grammar.
THRE.
Yeah, that is
That's- I think that's what I was
Yes,
thinking.
that is it, yeah, that.
So it's just using the right one, not really
Mhm.
knowing how to spell it.
Right, right. So that's usage, grammar, yeah. Okay, we have 10 minutes. We have one passage. It's almost 4 o'clock.
I'm good for whatever.
Okay, so guys, go ahead and answer, read through this and answer the questions for this passage. Let's see where you go. Sorry, can I get 20 bucks? Can I get 20 bucks? You left the wallet up here, I was just wondering. I don't know if you're just trying to see if I'm gonna steal your money. You lost, I win. Steal your money.
I just need 30 when you come back, you know what I'm saying?
You what?
You can take 20, I just need 30 when you come back.
Whatever. Whatever.
We Scott around this joint.
Predatory living. At its finest. At the college. Why did they take that ATM machine off the second floor? Remember that? Maybe we don't have any. Huh?
That's that.
Yes. Effect and defect. That will, yeah.
Effect and effect, get them every time.
Every time, so.
Here's the thing. It's hardly ever effect.
It's always affecting me. That affects me, right?
What?
So the funny thing is, when you see, this is in high school. When you see physical or
Use it wrong.
someone left our area. Okay.
Can you read it again? Well, at least relatively flawless. I mean, you know what I'm saying, like, there's mistakes.
That's not. You should point it out.
I don't want to think you did
When I
that.
have a math, point it out, who's it? I'm really. Oh, delicious.
saying no. That is not happening.
It's not happening, no.
That is not gonna happen. You wish it did.
I put D. Me too. Because it doesn't make no sense to have because but it also doesn't make it in calculus. They were
Bam. Yes. All right, y'all ready?
They were entertaining children were entertained.
Y'all ready?
I just
All right, let's see.
had encaptivated.
Okay. All right, here we go. Number 1. A, good. Now, if you get stuck on one, don't just put no change. No, but that's good. Number 1 is good. All right. Number 2, D, good. Number 3,
I said A.
A is good. It's good. Yeah, William Spalding, comma, the director. Yeah, it's good. 4,
I put A.
A. Keep it going. Yeah. Beginning readers, comma, and he. 5. Who? David or boy?
Boy. I put A, but no one said that, so.
David, any Davids? David. Yeah. Because you're supporting Geisel. Number 6. Hey, and that's another thing too. Know your transitions. I forgot that. Know what they mean. Know when to use them. So A is good. Number 7. C. Do what?
That was confusing, holy crap.
Yeah.
I think A.
Number 8.
Know what it was even saying, but D.
D. Concise. Break it down. 9 months later. Right. Number 9. D. Get rid of that is. You don't need that. Entertained by its plot about the antics of a mischievous cat and captivating. Entertained, captivating. Parallel. Number 10. C. Followed, comma, meaning lowercase m. And then number 11. C. Yes. So hopefully the tips that I gave in that quick minute
much.
help.
And save
Good
me
luck on
last
your
Saturday.
test. Yeah, we're going to do well. I don't think mine should. Oh, you got a lot of time to practice, so you're good.
Where am I taking?
Go for it, 2 break ins.
I just didn't go to high school.
Oh, don't forget the person that got all of the questions right, get a free, take a free sign.
Yeah, so there's 2/3 of one, a whole one.
Yeah. Well,
And then 3 whole ones. Somebody's got to take them, I'm not taking them.
I'll take a whole.
And then a half.
I'll take a whole. Yeah, go ahead and take
Yeah, baby, you can have one. Hey, if you need one at practice test, pick up. Take one. Check it, because I think the answers are in there somewhere too. But, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Dundee downtown pizza.
Who is it?
Dundee downtown pizza.
So you bet you went over there? Nick?
No, you only charge me like $4.
All right, Joy.
Hey, somebody got family at the house. Honestly, I'm not gonna do, I'm
Give it to your
going.
neighbor. Give it to the kids playing basketball on the street.
There's cheese, who wants cheese?
I'm good.
I did, but they're like elderly.
Give it to your teammates or your, I don't know.
I'll get a flag.
Yeah, give it somebody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Joy, I'm gone. I had to go to Bartow. See it. SAT student. So smart. He's already smart. Yeah.
Thank you, Vaughn, for doing that.
No,
I appreciate you.
Thank you for asking. Thank you.
I think it worked out pretty good again.
I think so. If you have it again, let me know.
Um,
I'm supposed to be in a meeting with the freshman reading committee, but I was like, I'm with an admin.